roll. Hey, everybody. Hello. Welcome to the Tuesday night comic book stream here at Fantasy Books and Games. I'm Aaron. This is Sam.
Hey,
And we're here to talk about some comics. You know, we didn't do a stream last week.
we did
So
not.
I've got a few books from last week to kind of briefly mention. It was kind of an awkward timing. Well, I'm not going to explain why we didn't do the stream, but it was unfortunate because there were a lot of books that came out last week. It was like
Right.
a huge week. So there's two, I think, really key important books that I want to talk about, and we'll get to them eventually. There were, sadly, several facsimiles that came out last week, and I didn't bother hunting them down to show them off for the stream this
Yeah.
week. But there is one cool facsimile coming out tomorrow that we're going to show off because we always start with facsimiles,
Exactly.
and that is Fantastic Four number 50 with this
Ooh.
ugly brown cover, but also it's a classic cover. You got the Silver Surfer on there. Also, Johnny Storm goes to college. Pretty cool. This
Okay.
is the conclusion to the Galactus story arc. It was 3 issues. But I think what I like about reading Silver Age comics is that it's not necessarily told in arcs. Like that's a problem that I think they have when they're collecting these older stories, like these older comics, because modern readers want like the story arc, like because they're so used to
Right.
trade paperbacks that collect like the 5 issues that run this whole story, and that's not really how older comics worked. They had like ongoing stories that would tease through several issues. So what you have like with this issue is it's the conclusion of the Galactus arc, but that's like within the first 10 pages. That's the climax
Oh.
of the story. And then the rest of it is all kind of just uh it's beautiful Jack Kirby artwork. I really love this. Sorry,
Yeah.
I'm just in awe of how cool this is. But like the rest of the issue is just kind of like the fallout and aftermath and just moving on with the story because there's going to be another issue next month and they're just going to do new stuff. So yeah, Human Torch enrolls in college, and it's kind of this was a period in Marvel history where the characters were growing up
Mm-hmm.
and kind of evolving, and this was a big part of that. But anyway, I love classic Stan Lee, Jack Kirby Fantastic Four. So if you're excited for the Fantastic Four movie, highly recommend you check this out.
Nice.
Um, Not really a facsimile, but I actually forgot we were going to talk about this, but I see it sitting in front of me now. So I don't normally do this. I don't like to talk too far in advance about stuff. Maybe I should. Maybe it would be beneficial for us to to maybe talk more in advance, other than the stuff that we have that's coming out tomorrow. But if you saw the July previews that Marvel puts out, you can't help but notice on the front cover, this is the Marvel previews, but it's got Batman on it. What's up with that? If you haven't heard, they're doing a Marvel and DC crossover, the
Nice.
first time in like 20, 30 years, I think, because
Yeah.
like the last time they did it was in the 90s. And I or no 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 actually technically I think the last one was in like 2004ish with the Avengers Justice League crossover
Oh.
book. I think that was the last one, but even still, we're talking about over 20 years. So it's kind of a big deal that Marvel and DC are getting back together, and I don't know, like the the Batman Deadpool, like that seems like a weird team
An
up. I don't know. What do
odd
you?
mix
It's
up
an
of
odd mix.
yeah.
Like if you look, like I think these are the other crossovers that are going to be in it, and you can see here they have Jeff the Shark and Crypto. That's a no-brainer. Like that one seems really obvious.
Yes.
And Daredevil and Green Arrow. That's an interesting pairing, especially because this one will be written by Kevin Smith, who has
Nice.
written both characters. He had a
Right.
very memorable run on Green Arrow and Daredevil, honestly. So that's a cool. That one actually is probably the most appealing to me.
Right.
Like the Deadpool Batman one. Like I get that people are probably excited. Like they're both very popular, and I don't know. It just seems like a weird. Like as a comic book fan, I'm just like I don't know. But also, it's probably they've probably done all the like the standard crossovers, Batman and Captain America, Batman and Daredevil. They've done
Right.
that. So I feel like Deadpool Batman is like the only one they got left to do.
I feel like a Batman Moon Knight would make sense at some point.
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah, and I don't know if they've done that one.
No.
And I'm also, I have to admit, I'm just shocked. Although now that I think about it, it probably could be a part of this. I'm shocked that it's not just Deadpool and Harley Quinn
Right.
crossover. Like
Yeah.
to me, that just seems like the obvious take.
Well, they got the same energy.
And like the meta breaking the fourth wall
Yeah.
kind of, they're both insane, like yeah. So, but to be fair, that could be a part of it. Like
Right.
Harley Quinn is technically a Batman character, so
Right.
I didn't think about it. Maybe they're just advertising Batman because he's Batman, but the story could still be about Harley Quinn and Deadpool. I don't know. We'll see. Anyway, I just thought I would mention it because I know a lot of people are getting really excited to see DC and Marvel crossover again, and if maybe if you hadn't heard, I think that's the thing that people might be interested in. Okay,
And now you have.
now you know. Now you know. You can't blame me for not telling you in advance. There's a couple of trade paperbacks coming out tomorrow that I think are worth mentioning. Real quick, I just want to mention that Volume 2 of Unico is coming out tomorrow. Finally, I think it was it? It might have been 2 years ago when the first volume of Unico came out.
Wow.
I have a special place in my heart for Unico. Unico was created by Osamu Tezuka. It's the guy that created Astro Boy.
Oh, okay.
And so this is a new comic by actually illustrated by Gear Hero, the guy that does Jeff the Shark.
Oh.
And it's a really good looking comic, first of all, and it does a good job of paying tribute to the classic original manga series by Tezuka. Sorry, and it's a weird children's story. I think I don't remember. I don't think you would have been on the stream when the first volume came out, but I always tell the story of I watched a Unico animated movie when I was a kid, and it gave me nightmares because it's like
that soft around the edges.
That's soft around the well. So that's kind of the whole premise is that
Okay.
Unico, like super cute little unicorn character, but like the whole point of the character is that he has to bring joy and happiness to like a dark, depressing, evil world.
Oh.
And it's really dark in some places, and the comic kind of lives up to that. Like it gets really dark, and so in the animated movie that I saw, which I think was from, it had to be from the late 70s or the early 80s. We're talking like old anime.
Okay.
And there's like a witch, and she turns people into little like brick-like automatons, and then they just like march mindlessly to her castle and then just step on each other's shoulders to build the walls of her castle.
Oh my god.
And so like the main character's kid is this kid whose parents get like just turned into these brick people, and they just abandon him, and Unico has to like cheer him up.
Oh my god.
And like they save the parents and they do the whole
Yeah.
thing, but it's like it's kind of dark, but also it's for kids, so it's super cutesy.
Right.
Anyway, the much long-awaited Volume 2 comes out tomorrow, so I'm pretty excited. I enjoyed the first volume. It's a fun, like it is an all ages book, but I do
Right.
feel like it has like it's one of those things that's it's approachable to kids but enjoyable by adults. If that makes sense.
That's a good quality to have.
Yeah, I agree. I think it
Yeah.
is too. Going in the complete opposite direction, book that comes out tomorrow also is a new DC digest of The Authority. First of all, I love that DC is putting out these digests. Like it's a little bit smaller. Like you can kind of compare it to the size. Here's a Daredevil Cold Day in Hell third printing of #1 that also comes out tomorrow. So you can see it's a little bit smaller print size, but it's $10, and you're getting like a full, like I think this is like 14 or 15 issues here for $10.
Oh my gosh.
Yeah, and this I don't remember if I've asked you this, Sam. Have you read The Authority?
I've never read The
Are you
Authority.
familiar with it at all?
Mm-hmm.
So yeah. It's getting a lot of attention because James Gunn has said he's going to do an Authority movie.
Oh.
And
okay.
The Authority is technically officially a part of the DC universe, but these are the first Authority comics where they weren't a part of the DC universe. They were published by Wildstorm. And that was when it was like its own thing,
Yeah.
which, well, I don't have to go into the whole history of Image Comics here, but man, I feel very strongly The Authority. It's written by Warren Ellis, and art is by Brian Hitch. And this comic, I think several comics can be credited with this, but I think this might be the main comic that is ushered in what I would call the modern age of comic book storytelling. Like up until this point, like this book was like nothing on the stands. Like you could, when this book came out, a lot of the stuff Marvel and DC were doing were just kind of, oh, I think did my camera freeze? Oh no.
Oh no.
Well, I hope we're still. Oh
How
man,
do you fix that?
I don't know. I don't know what I did. Uh, whoa! I think we're experiencing technical difficulties. The last USB device, Windows does not recognize it. Okay. Um,
Uh,
well, I guess if you can hear this and see this, mention in the comments if we're still working. Just want to check my messages. You know what? We're gonna like do a little streamception. See if I can click on the link and see what is happening here. Yeah, that's a little weird on our end. Tell me a joke, Sam.
oh geez, I don't have any on the spot.
It
No.
unfroze. The sound is good. Okay, well, I guess we're on. Uh, but like our screen is still frozen, so I can't tell if it's showing us or not. That's odd. Let's go with frozen though.
No.
It unfroze, then froze, and sound is good. Okay, so it's okay. Yeah,
uh,
that's weird because I keep switching back. I'm not seeing anything. Okay, well that's great. Um, and I can't get anything to load either, so that's also great.
you want me to try on my phone?
If you can, that's odd. Hello. I
Hello.
don't know if I can like how to. Let's see. The sound. Okay, it is frozen, but the sound is still going. Well, that's not good because it's a visual show and we need to show off the comics. Let me see if I can
Where is
change
that
the.
link? Ah, found
Okay,
it.
let's see what does this do. Okay, so now I think are we moving again? I switched to the camera, um, but I don't know if you can actually see it. Let's try one more thing. So now, yeah, I guess we have this going at least.
Okay.
Again, sound off in the comments if it's working. We might have to just like improvise a little bit with our low quality camera, assuming it is working. Let's see if I can. Let's see, it's moving. Yeah, see, I don't got my downward camera anymore. Boom. Nothing there. Nothing there. Okay, so I guess we're gonna roll with it.
Okay.
We're just anyway. As I was saying, the authority. It's
So
hold
it
it
kind
up
of
to the
ushered
camera.
in
Yeah,
the.
it like the modern style of comic book storytelling. I think
Okay.
came from the authority. Like the because the authority was so stylish and so successful and so cool, these creators that were working on the authority, Warren Ellis, Brian Hitch, eventually this run was followed up by Mark Miller and Frank Quietly and like all the people that were doing work at Wildstorm at the time. They're the ones that got hired to do a lot of the Ultimate Universe at Marvel because Marvel
Oh.
wanted a little taste of that. They said,
Yeah.
we need to update, make our characters fresh. And so they had Brian Michael Bendis doing Spider-Man. Warren Ellis and Mark Millar both did Fantastic Four, and Mark Millar did X-Men and the Ultimates.
Right.
But anyway, and Brian Hitch was the artist on the Ultimates. So I feel like this is the precursor to that, which is the precursor to the MCU, even because a lot
Mm-hmm.
of the early Marvel Universe stuff. Twitch chat kind of stinks. It literally takes a dull 45 seconds to enter the chat. Everything is moving normally now. Okay,
Okay.
well, good. So I don't have my downward camera, so I'm not going to be able to show off too many of the pages from the books we're going to talk about. But I think we can roll with it. But yeah, so I think this it's definitely a book of its time, like the 1999 2000 era. But I think it also, because of the fact that it is the standard which almost all modern comics started copying, it has a kind of timeless quality. Like it might not feel like if you look at some other books that came out in 2000, like a book published by Marvel, I like even just like the X-Men books before Grant Morrison's run on X-Men. If you just looked at like an X-Men book that would have come out at the same time as this, you would look at the X-Men book and be like, wow, that looks like an old comic book. But if you look at the Authority, you would think it looks like a modern comic book,
Right.
you know. And so that's kind of just all I'm getting at. Brian Hitch was like a foundational artist. A lot of people copied his style because it was so dynamic and successful and modern looking.
Huh.
And I love the Authority. It's really really good. I do highly recommend it because it's one of those. It takes superheroes seriously and it kind of has a lot of fun poking at some genre tropes, but it treats it more like science fiction.
Hmm.
And then also it has a more modern like message like power and authority. The team is called the Authority, and
Yeah.
like it's really good. So and you can get the whole thing for $10. It's just Warren Ellis's run, which I guess I don't. Hopefully they do a Mark Miller one as well, but the Mark Miller Frank Quitely one is not as good as the Warren Ellis and Brian Hitch, but it is funnier and more irreverent as you would expect from Mark Miller.
Yes.
But also the Frank Quitely art is just chef's kiss. But anyway, okay, so moving on to some more current day comics that are coming out. I already showed you the Daredevil Cold Day in Hell. Third printing comes out tomorrow. We talked about this book twice already, when the first issue came out and when the second printing came out. This is probably my favorite Daredevil comic in the last, oh, I don't know, 10 years. It's really good.
It is good.
It's
very
really good.
Yeah.
And admittedly, I've a lot of collectors, they go through cycles, and I was like really heavy into Daredevil for a period, and then I kind of just got burned out on it, so I like didn't read Daredevil for a while. So it's nice to read this because it just feels like classic Daredevil. So if you missed the first issue, I'm sure issue 2 came out last month, so issue 3 is probably right around the corner. You can get yourself a third printing of number 1 and get caught up. It is really really good.
Yes. Well worth it.
Yeah. Also coming out tomorrow. This actually, no, I take that back. This is one of the books that is from last week that I didn't get a chance to talk about, but Sleep by Xander Cannon. I like this comic a lot. And now I'm really disappointed that our downward camera is not working. Let's try it one more time. Maybe it just magically fixed itself. No, it did not. Because Xander Cannon's art is amazing, and I really like the way this story is unfolding. You can kind of see in the cover here. There's like a moon, like an abstract moon with a face, and it's like a monster story, but you don't know what the monster is.
Yeah,
they've done Xander Cannon has done an incredible job just letting this story unfold naturally, where you kind of get to know these characters in this town, and something is happening, and the main character has an idea of what it is, but he is also kind of afraid to even acknowledge. I feel like there's a little bit of that too.
He's afraid of what the answer
it,
is
it,
to the.
It worked. The downward camera worked. Is that what you're saying? Like can you see Sleep on the camera? I know there's going to be a 45-second delay, so we're going to pretend that it's working, and I'm just going to show these pages. If it's working, just let me know. But yeah, like one of the things I like about this comic is that it's all in black and white, but it just uses the color red sparingly. And I haven't totally gotten. There's like kind of a mystery of like what the red color is. Like clearly glasses are red, and there's some other like tiny little things that are colored red, and it's like it's a little bit of like a visual. Okay, so I guess you can see. Well, there you go. I'll do my best to flip through, even though I can't see it on my screen. But yeah, this Xander Cannon's art is just beautiful. I really really like this. So if you didn't get a chance to get it last week, if you missed issue 1, highly recommend Sleep. Actually, I would say it's one of my favorite comics coming out right now.
Yeah.
Also from last week, just want to make a brief mention. I know we've talked about this one before, but this is, I think, Sam, both of our favorite books right now.
Probably one of mine.
Moonshine Bigfoot. Heck yeah. Okay, I lied. It switches, but it doesn't move. Oh, she got me. Okay, so yeah, it just switches to a frozen camera. That's okay. You know what? We're just gonna talk about Moonshine Bigfoot. This comic is so much fun. It's like big 70s action. Did we talk about the last time we talked about issue? It actually is like kind of a period piece. Like I noticed in the
Right.
first issue it has like that whole 70s motif, but I think it actually does take place in the 80s. Like, did we
Yes.
talk about that?
I don't know if we mentioned it, but
Yeah, it was
yeah.
something that I didn't pick up on in the first issue, but then after reading issue 2, I was like, "Oh, it actually is in like 85 or 80, whenever."
Hence all the
It
cameos at
yeah,
the
which is
bar.
why you
Yeah.
see all the cameras, which we can't show on the screen, but there's a wonderful panel. Like let's both look at it and then we'll tease them. Like this panel here.
Yes.
How many cameos did you recognize in that?
Well, I got the Blues Brothers.
Yeah, that one's an obvious one. There's Burt Reynolds, Richard Simmons. I
Oh,
mean, it's funny that we don't have this on the screen, so we're gonna have fun reading. You can watch us read this comic book.
and then there's Kermit.
Yeah, Kermit the Frog, of course. Just imagine all these cool characters you're seeing in the art. This wonderful art that I can't show you. I like. Oh yeah, Sigourney Weaver,
Oh,
Alien. There's is that Evil Knievel? Maybe, maybe. Oh
maybe.
man, do you know who that is?
I don't think I do. Who is that?
Pretty sure that's from Mac and Me. For all you Mac and Me fans out there, I again, it's funny that we can't. I guess I could kind of like it's a blurry camera, so you're not gonna be
Yeah.
able to see it. But you're just gonna have to come in and buy the comic and see all these beautiful cameos.
Yeah.
But it's a very fun comic. It's like big time 70s 80s action with a Bigfoot and a muscle car and the A Team and ghosts and it's got everything.
Yeah.
It's great. I really love it. Also coming out tomorrow. I don't think I need to have to say anything other than I really like GI Joe, and the fact that there's two ongoing GI Joe comics coming out right now, and I like both of them is, I mean, we're just hashtag blessed. I can't get over it. Um, we will see the single page, but you have to switch the cameras back and forth if you turn the page. Oh, so if I put the downward camera on, it does show that page. It just doesn't move. Interesting. So now I'm like, let's try that again. So let's see if we can do this,
Oh,
just for fun. Um, there we go. Okay, so we can't see the screen, so I hope this comic page is showing up. But yeah, there's all these like fun cameos here. Again, we'll just repeat what we said. You see the Blues Brothers. There's a gray alien. Mr. T. Did you see Mr. T there?
there's Mr.
Yeah, there's
T.
Mr. T. Burt Reynolds, Smokey and the Bandit, Burt Reynolds, Alien, Sigourney Weaver, Kermit the Frog. There's the Mac and Me alien. There's some other characters here who clearly like that's somebody. She's a singer and I can't think of her name right now.
I can't either.
But yeah, there's like and there's some other cameos here that I'm sure are probably a little deeper cuts that I didn't quite catch. But anyway, yes, the camera works but doesn't move. Okay, well there you go. I hope take just soak in this beautiful panel. The art is really amazing on this comic. I think we talk about that a lot, but the art is by we talked about this when we talked about issue 2.
Mhm.
Steve Ellis and Zach Howard are both like penciler inker, and I think what I liked about issue 2, they had like kind of a breakdown where they showed like a penciled page and an inked page and then a colored page, and I like getting to see the process
Yeah.
of how the page comes together. Nope, that doesn't work. It is showing the Authority Relentless cover. I don't know. I'm confused. Okay, well,
Let's
that's what we're having fun. We're just having fun here.
let's just assume the camera doesn't work.
Yeah, we're from here on out. We're just going to assume it doesn't work. We're going to move on. GI Joe, hooray for me! I'm so lucky. Um, Also coming out tomorrow, I got some stuff kind of talk about. Adventure Time. I've been reading this and enjoying it. I think I said this with issue 3. I'm enjoying it more than I feel like I should because it's just a pretty straightforward.
Are you a big Adventure Time
I do. I'm kind of a big fan of Adventure Time. I just like I never read any of the Adventure Time comics before. I know they've
Yeah.
done them because I admittedly this is my prejudice showing, but a lot of times whenever they do like an animated series comic tie-in, it sort of feels like it's not real, like it's not official, like it's
Right.
not really like if you need to have more Adventure Time, there it is. But like I like the animated series. I don't need to read a comic book series, but I'll give them credit. It like this is good, and it does sort of it scratches that itch when like
Yes.
we're not getting any more. I think that was my problem. Was previously the animated series, the comics were coming out. I think when they were still making the
Right.
animated series, and then it just sort of feels like a pointless
It doesn't
tie-in.
feel like canon, even
Yeah,
though it
even though it might
may.
be, yeah, it
Yeah.
doesn't feel like canon. But you know what, this since we don't have any current Adventure Time comics, this is working. So I do enjoy this one. Also coming out tomorrow. Well, what's something that you read, Sam?
I
That's
read the new Captain America #1 by Chip
yeah,
Zdarsky.
I read that one too, although not completely. I kind of like skipped around a little bit.
Yeah.
Um, what did you think?
So I thought it was a pretty good start. I like Chip Zdarsky a lot,
Mm-hmm.
and I think that he's gonna bring some interesting ideas to Captain America that may hit on, current times and what we're dealing with a little bit. That's
Yeah,
kind of the
I
vibe I
got
got.
that. I sort of feel like so. This is like the awkward thing with Captain America because I was thinking about that where I was reading this and there's definitely like a sense of commenting on modern times,
Yeah.
but I feel like that's the entire premise of Captain America because
Right.
he's a man out of time. So you kind of can't have a proper Captain America story without some kind of commentary on the modern times because
Right.
that's like the whole selling point. But so I was actually enjoying the parts that were clearly set in the past of him being just resurrected because like there were scenes where he like Iron Man shows up and asks him to join the Avengers,
But as like Iron
but
Man,
as
not as
Iron Man,
Tony
not as Tony
Stark.
Stark. And I really like that because he's like, oh, the Avengers benefactor, Tony Stark. I'll put in a good word, with him for you. He funds us, and it just gave me that little bit of hit of not, I don't think nostalgia is even the right word. Just like I was just like, this is proper superhero comics. Like I hate that like in when you read a modern Marvel comic, everybody knows who everybody is. Even the public knows who everybody.
Yeah.
Like secret identities just aren't really a thing anymore.
No.
And so when I was reading that scene in this issue where Iron Man shows up and confronts Captain America and he speaks about Tony Stark in the third person, I was just like, yes, classic comic book, classic superheroes.
Yeah.
So I did really like those scenes of because that's also a problem that Marvel has. Where I was talking about the Fantastic Four '60s reprint, is that Marvel is known for their characters progressing in real time, but then at a certain point, it became obvious that they could not keep doing that, or they would all be in their 70s by
Right.
now, and or dead actually at this point. And so they have they've employed what they call the sliding timeline. So like all the stories from the original '60s issues did happen, they just didn't happen in the '60s. They happened roughly 10 years ago. They
Right.
just say. And so what they have to do is every now and then they do new issues where they kind of like readjust the timeline. So like because in the original comics, Captain America was thought out in the '60s, and it was like, oh, hippies, culture shock, and now it's like something else is giving him culture shock. They
Yes.
did the same thing with Iron Man in the original Iron Man comics. It was Vietnam, or was it the Korean War? I think it was Vietnam, where he's like injured, and then and this was in the 2000s, I think Warren Ellis did an Iron Man series where he just like changed it to Desert Storm. We just have to age it up. It's a war. It doesn't really
Right.
matter which one it is. So there's a little bit of that where they're like updating Captain America and like him being thought out. But tell me a little bit about the new character that's introduced here.
So I don't know. You don't find out that
Excuse
much
me.
about the new character. It's someone who wants to go to war for this. He was a witness to a terrorist attack.
Mm-hmm.
We'll leave that vague.
Yeah, yeah.
And he feels a sense of duty. He is kind of like, he's a lot like Steve Rogers.
Yeah.
Whenever Steve was,
It's
started, before he was
yeah,
a super
he's like a
soldier.
little sickly kid. He's got asthma or something,
Hmm.
and he tries to join them. It's basically Steve Rogers' origin,
Right.
and so I was reading it, and I was like, man, where are they going with this? Like are they? I'm genuinely curious. I guess I got to give Chip Zdarsky. I can't say I really liked it that much. It didn't impress me like
Yeah.
as a story in any way, but I am curious. I'm like, what is he planning on doing with this? With this kid is basically just like is he supposed to be the 2020s Captain America? Is he supposed to be
That's
the the Zennial Captain America,
Kind of my read
and
on it.
and
Yeah.
and that's what I'm like. Okay, are we gonna get like layers of culture shock where Steve Rogers is a man out of time, but now he's also like an old like the
The
old generation who is still also a man. You know what I
Yeah.
mean? Is he going to be like I don't know.
I'm assuming, and I don't know, I haven't read the script or anything like that, but
Mhm.
there's going to be some odds, you know.
I feel like there has to be like
Right.
that's just standard storytelling.
Yeah.
Uh,
Yeah, not
so
really a groundbreaking revelation on my
right,
part,
right.
but
I think there's going to be some drama in this story.
well, he's got to put the new Captain America in his
Uh,
place, kind of deal.
Probably.
Yeah.
That's sort of what I expect. But yeah, an it was an all right issue. Like
Yeah.
I didn't dislike it like a lot of modern Marvel. I'll be honest. And I'm not even like I've said before. I'm not like a super fan of Chip Zdarsky or anything.
Right.
But it's a pretty strong issue.
Yeah, I liked it.
And I think I just wasn't super into the new character because I did feel like I'm just reading Captain America's story again, but in the modern. I don't know. Like I feel like there is something's going on there. I just didn't get a. I couldn't get a read on like what it's supposed to
Right.
be. So we'll see. I'm
There's gonna be
curious.
something horribly wrong with this guy.
That's kind of my fear is that it's
Yeah.
gonna be like it's 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 gonna be. I worry that it's gonna have that same problem that a lot of the Marvel movies have, where the villains all have really really good points and they're all like really good, highly motivated, and it's like the things that they're upset about are real,
And they make
but
sense.
and they
Yeah.
make sense to the normal person, but then they kill somebody, so obviously they're evil,
Right.
and it's but so I feel like I'm worried that it could go in that direction where here's a super relatable kid and he's better than Steve Rogers in every way except for he killed somebody. You know what I mean? Like,
Yeah.
and be very, I don't know. I don't know. We'll see. We'll see where it goes.
Yeah.
Oh, sorry, I didn't
Oh,
mean to
you're good.
totally chuck that. Let's see. We got a few other books to talk about. Let me just briefly mention Godzilla versus Thor. I picked out the Nick Bradshaw cover on this one. Just continuing the trend. I don't. Have you read any of
So,
the?
which era does this take place
This
in?
takes place in the 2000. It's like I guess it's technically the 2020s. It's
Okay.
written by Jason Aaron, and it's set in kind of his period of. It's actually no, it's a little after his period of Thor because it's it's set around the time that he was writing Punisher, which was 21, where
Okay.
Punisher went to Japan and became like a hand assassin. And
Oh.
I can't show the panel, but they have when they this was like the whole controversy where they changed the Punisher logo because Marvel, Disney, the scuttlebutt was they were trying to distance themselves from the various online groups who have co-opted the Punisher logo. So they officially made the Punisher logo something different, and that was in Jason Aaron's like 12 issue Punisher run in 21 or 20 to 2021 or 2022. I don't remember exactly when that came out.
I didn't even know that story existed.
Well, it was not widely read and it was immediately forgotten. And then they followed it up with an even lamer Punisher series where it wasn't it was just some random guy was like, I'm going to take over as a Punisher, and it was pretty boring. And now they've announced they're bringing Frank back, and so this year, later this year, they're going to do classic Frank Castle. It's the real Punisher. He's got the original logo. It's standard Marvel. They cycle these things in and out. But so this one takes place during that period. So it does follow because we said the Avengers was 2000s New Avengers. So this is kind of like 2010, 2020 ish.
So that would have been like Gore the God Butcher.
Yes.
And, okay.
There's without any spoilers. There is a
sorry.
well, you haven't read it, you don't know, and I'm not going to spoil what it is. I'm just going to say the words you just said are also in this book.
Oh.
So yeah, it's neat that I'm just having my theory confirmed that they progress like roughly a decade through each book, and that leads into the next Godzilla Marvel series, which is Godzilla attacks the Marvel universe or destroys the Marvel universe.
Oh.
And it's going to be like Godzilla versus everybody. So we'll see where that goes. But yeah, I mean, like even we can't show the art, but even the art looks like the art from the Thor, or I mean Jason Aaron's Thor run. Yeah, there you go. Yeah. But it's written, like I said, this issue was written by Jason Aaron, and art is by Aaron Cooter, who I don't remember if he has been involved in Marvel Comics or not before. But anyway, I I don't think these Godzilla Marvel comics are like peak comic book, but I just kind of enjoy them as just fun Godzilla
Yeah.
superhero action.
What more could you ask for?
Exactly. You know what?
Yeah.
And that's totally true. What more could you ask for? All right. What's something else that you read to talk about? Oh
I
yeah,
read
we both read this one.
Gehenna.
Yeah. I
Naked
so first of
Aggression?
all, I don't like to comment on art direction or
You had a problem with the art?
I have a problem with that logo. I can't read it.
Oh, yeah, that's
I know that they're kind of going for a very stylized thing. So maybe art direction was maybe the wrong choice of words. What am I thinking of? Design,
design,
art, graphic design,
graphic design
graphic design. It's not even like a terrible logo, but
for context.
for context, I just like I saw that on the shelf and I was like, what is that? I had a hard time reading it. It's Gehenna,
Yeah,
assuming that's how it's supposed to be pronounced, and then naked aggression. So it's
right.
like Gehenna naked aggression.
That little speech bubble with the frustrated scribble
Yeah,
kind
yeah.
of throws it off a little
So
bit.
what did you think of this?
I thought the art was great. That the story was simple enough that you could follow and yeah.
I also kind of loved it.
Yeah.
The art was fantastic.
Yes.
And I really like on the subject of like the Godzilla book. I really like that this is just very straightforward. It knows what it is. It's just sexy girl assassins getting into violent shootouts, and
Exactly
it's pretty
it.
cool. If you like The Punisher, you'll like this. If you
Yes.
like Elektra Assassin, you will like this. Um,
What'd you think of the full page spreads where it was like each yeah.
it was cool. It was really good. Like this is a really good issue.
Yeah.
And there's actually a little bit of back matter there where the writer does a little afterword, and he writes. He actually specifically name drops the Punisher about like what his favorite issue of the Punisher, which is just some random issue. It's not like it's not a key issue. It's just like he just read this issue and he thought it was so cool, and so he just wanted to kind of recreate that with this, and I think he succeeded. It's really good.
Nice.
Maybe say this is my favorite comic I read this week.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So far for me, I would agree with that.
Yeah, it's also just nice to read something that's new that you had no idea, like you didn't expect it in any way, and it's just like hits on all cylinders.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? So yeah, this was really good. I highly recommend Gehenna. Like I said,
Except the logo.
I'll gripe about that a little bit because I know that I know a lot of thought goes into that. Like
Yeah.
people like this is an Image comic. Like they have people that will be like, no, your logo's unreadable. You got to change it. Like so, I don't know. It's not unreadable. I'll give them that.
Yeah.
It's like you can read it, but it did make me look at it like twice before I wasn't, because it's not like a word that I immediately recognize or
Right.
understand. Like it could be a made up word for all I know. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So I don't know. But otherwise, really great comic.
Yeah, it was excellent.
All right. Did you have anything else you wanted to talk about?
I had this freebie that we.
Oh, that's right.
Yeah.
Yeah. This is Escape from Zillionaire Island. This is a free preview that we have here in the store. So you can just grab this and read it, and then you can also pre-order the full book. I think that's what's going on here. I did not read this. Did you read this?
I read it. It was okay. I had read Boys Weekend, which is a graphic novel that's solicited in the back.
Yeah, I
It's
remember
by
you
the
saying
same
that.
creator, and that was pretty good. This was for a preview. It didn't really give you a good idea as to how the whole book is going to read.
Gotcha.
And
I struggle with that when, like, is it just I didn't read it. Is it just like the first 20 pages of the book?
Seems like it.
That's always tricky for a preview, because
Right.
I understand, you want, like, it's an obvious choice for the preview of like, here's just the intro to our story, and ideally a story should be very captivating when it opens.
Yes.
But at the same time, for a preview, sometimes I do feel like just like taking a key chunk is better to like get them hooked.
And like sometimes Like
there's no immediate payoff. That's what I'm
there's
saying.
no immediate
Like
payoff.
sometimes like 20 pages of intro it's designed for a full 100-page graphic novel.
Right.
And in the scope of things, like yeah, you're just going to read 20 pages, but it's just going to feel like it's all like set up and build up. And yeah, I know exactly what you
Just
mean.
content. Yeah, it doesn't like within those first 20 pages, it's not like a full like 3 act structure.
Right,
When you
right.
don't have that payoff that,
Hmm. Yeah, so that's I don't know, that's interesting
yeah.
to think about, but it is free, so you can come in you can come in and grab a free copy.
Yeah.
Okay, we've got one more book we're going to briefly talk about. I actually have a lot I could say about this book, so it's a little disappointing that we can't show off the art for it. But this is Doctor Worthless by Harold Schechter and Eric Powell. Eric Powell, of course, the creator of the Goon classic Dark Horse comic, and this is the same team actually that did the book. Did you hear what Eddie Gein done? Which actually I don't know if I've talked about that on the stream, but I like that book quite a bit.
Yeah.
That's a biography of the infamous killer Edward Gein, Ed Gein, who, if you don't know who he is, he was the kind of the inspiration, the template for a lot of famous movie serial killers. Or the movie Psycho was part it part partly sort of inspired by him. Texas Chainsaw Massacre was in part inspired by him, and a million other trashy B movies were also inspired by him. And that's not even mentioning the ones that are literally like about him. Like he's an infamous figure. But no, we're talking about somebody who is possibly equally infamous in his own way. This book is about Dr. Frederick Wortham. And Sam, I asked you before, do you know who Dr. Frederick Wortham
I
is?
don't. I feel
Are
like that's a big history
it's
test
a
that I
well, it's a
just
big comic book history test. If you're
okay.
not into comics, I forgive you for not knowing who
But
Dr.
me,
But you do work in a comic book store, so you're gonna get 10 demerits for that. Frederick Wortham was the famous child psychologist who spearheaded
oh,
the congressional hearings to investigate whether or not comic books were damaging to children and just society as a whole. He single-handedly almost killed the comic book industry.
right.
Is That's what he's known as. He's the reason that we had the Comics Code Authority for so long. He's the reason that EC Comics went out of business. He's the reason that Mad, the only surviving book from EC, switched to magazine format instead of comic book as a way to get around the Comics Code Authority. Yeah, he's the reason that superheroes were around for so long and they stopped publishing horror comics. Like comic books were not allowed to have vampires or werewolves in them. Like just like blanket, like comics can't have them. It's ridiculous.
It is.
But this I didn't get to read this whole book, but I flipped through and I read some sections. And this is a biography of Frederick Wortham. So it's not just a story of the congressional hearings and his crusade against comic books. It's actually about his life, which I found really fascinating because it does go into great detail, kind of painting a picture of who he was as a person. Because he was a very dedicated psychologist who like really did care about public health and especially children. He was very concerned about the safety of children, and the book spends a lot of time just his career and like the stuff kind of stuff he dealt with, and it actually does spend a lot of time talking about famous murderers and his involvement in like the psychoanalyzing of them. Like one of the like a famous historical murderer, Albert Fish, who is a very funny name to say, but he also was like a real person, a real killer. He that was one of the characters, or one of the people that Frederick Wortham like studied.
Mm,
And so the book does go, I don't want to say it goes out of its way. It just does a fair job of really just presenting him who he really was. Because a lot of people after the whole comics thing, he just became a boogeyman.
right.
Like because he's not just a moral crusader. Like he actually like the book kind of goes into this. Like he was actually really against censorship. Like he didn't like the idea of government censoring things. But in that one instance of comic books, he felt it was too important because he very strongly believed that children were too impressionable, and if they saw violence in comic books they would be forced they would be like uncontrollably forced to just reenact it
Yeah.
because he had a like I mean it's an old debate, nature versus nurture, and he was all in on the nurture thing. Like he was like, it's media that makes people do bad things, and of course now that's like widely discredited. Like we've had literal decades of like people blaming music, blaming movies, blaming video games, all for violence in schools and elsewhere. But it kind of all started with him with comic books. Like it was the first really big because comics as an industry, I think they just didn't have the money
Defend
to defend
themselves.
themselves the way like the motion picture industry
Yeah.
did. Because like movies, it wasn't until the 80s that they even really started using the rating system
Right.
like G and PG, and PG-13 didn't come around until like 1985 or 86. Like it was like one of the Indiana Jones movies was the first PG-13 movie, and that's weird to think about.
That
Like
is weird to think about.
but like it was in the 50s that they were like, no, comic books can't be scary, no murder in comic books, and that's why you have really simplistic children's superheroes became the dominant genre. But anyway, I did read big chunks of this. They do spend a lot of time in the final chapters of the book going over the hearing and also after the aftermath of the hearing, and kind of he's a really interesting person. So I definitely, if you like biographies, which I do, if you really like comic book history, which I do, this is like a must read book. I really do recommend, and it's really good because two very talented creators. Eric Powell is an amazing artist, just fantastic. If I had actually read this whole book, I would probably say it was my favorite thing I read this week. Uh, but I wasn't able to read the whole thing. So, but I even not having read the whole thing, I still highly, highly, highly recommend it. All
All right.
right, I think we're gonna call it there. We don't have much else to show off, and
Yeah.
our camera kind of jinxed us a little bit.
Oh
But
wow.
thanks for watching. I hope you saw some cool comics you want to check out. It just made it more tantalizing. You weren't
Yes.
able to see all the cool art that we were talking about.
It's a lure. It
It's
was
a,
a
it
tactic
was
on our
yeah,
part.
exactly. We're teasing you. But anyway, yeah, come on down, come visit us here at Fantasy Books and Games. We like talking about comics. Like our friend Dan says, there's comics out there for everybody. It's not just superheroes. Sometimes it's about psychologists who hate superheroes. Uh, but yeah, so check us out. We'll see you all next time. Bye. Thank
I
you.